Hello everyone, welcome to Crypto Morning on Thursday, September 19th, 2024. I titled it On the Edge because it's over now, like after an exam, we've passed it. I think it was the most important event of the month, quarter, year, and some say decade. We saw a 0.5% drop and I believe we came very close to the edge. Dow Jones is down 0.29. The figures will be compiled and the speech will be analyzed in detail. I'll have more insights in 24 hours. But expect analyses on what was said very soon. We'll see the market reaction too, and don't forget, we'll meet tonight, D+1, 24 hours after Powell's speech. We'll already have good indications from the market, especially the US markets. We saw a fund invest $500 million in blockchain tech recently. Now it's $100 million. So these investments happen daily. What I find exciting is the underperforming DeFi sector. Remember, bull markets are always cyclical. Some sectors boom early, others later, some near the end. This is interesting for the DeFi sector. There are ongoing debates right now. You might have seen it on Twitter and elsewhere. Lots of Solana criticism, especially about inflation. They keep minting tokens daily, about 2 million or so. That's not good. There are other issues too. The worst is the fake transaction volumes likely created by bots. Many on Twitter track this. If true, Solana's in trouble. They make it seem like they have huge transaction volumes. Sometimes they claim to beat Ethereum, but it's likely fake. Bots are the main users on Solana. They're the top clients. Many people are saying this. I'm not sure of the full impact, but there's a lot of debate now, especially about TPS, transactions per second, where they seem to be inflating their numbers. They claim 65,000, but it's likely between 2,000 and 3,000. What's interesting is they're being challenged. Maybe that's why FTM and Sonic are exploding, and they're both outperforming Solana. Could Sonic FTM become the new Solana? Perhaps what's happening now is playing to FTM's advantage. I wanted to end with that. Next, Chainlink. We'll look at its chart and end the video with it because I think it's today's opportunity. For those without Chainlink in their portfolio, it's a must-have. It's truly an asset that belongs in 100% of portfolios, whether you're a beginner or experienced. I like Sergey Nazarov's prediction that tokenizing real assets will really boost Web3 use cases. As for SweetX, I think it's the strangest scam in the last 5 years. It's a completely bogus project. Anyone who's studied blockchains and projects quickly finds it odd, with 25 years staking. Really sketchy stuff. It emerged in total anonymity, somehow reaching the top 10, yet nobody said anything. As if there wasn't even a launch, but I've made videos many times to criticize this terrible project. It's really just projects that waste money and time for all investors. Venezuela is interesting because it's a very resource-rich country, not just in oil, but other resources too. They're considering implementing a Bitcoin reserve plan similar to what El Salvador did. They've been talking about it for years. Will it happen? We'll see. It would be interesting if another country besides El Salvador creates such a reserve. When you look at El Salvador MicroStrategy, or any entity, country, individual or company that does DCA on Bitcoin for over 4 years, they're winning, usually earning very well. Will this trend continue for Bitcoin over the next 50 years? I don't know, but I think a country with abundant natural resources putting some reserves in Bitcoin, I don't know. But I find this strategy could be profitable. Now, about Arthur Hayes, who predicts a crash soon. I don't know what you think, but I find him to be the biggest flip-flopper among those who speak on social media. He's the guy who can tell us Bitcoin will hit $300,000 on Monday and then on Wednesday, like today, tell us we're heading for a crash. So now he's explaining that we're going to have a crash because of what? I hope he's all in anyway, but he's really the guy I find to be a huge flip-flopper. If you want, I could give you his prediction of the day every day. It's a project in XRPL's wheelhouse with ex-Ripple folks. Interesting project, especially for payments. I don't often mention it, but I think it's a good project, and they're partnering with my eGram. What I want to say is, it really caught my attention that anyone who's read about Satoshi Nakamoto or the white paper knows Bitcoin's main target is middlemen. These are the entities that profit off people's backs. For instance, many Hispanic Americans sending money to South America. If they send $1,000 through my eGram, they have to pay $1,200. That's the commission for their service. It's similar for Europeans sending money to Africa. These entities charge 10 to 20% fees. I think cryptocurrencies are primarily meant to solve this issue. The day when, and this is what's great, especially in Asia, you have crypto ATMs or distributors where you can send USDT and people can go to these ATMs and withdraw their money directly. That's when we'll see real change. What's hidden? Anyway, it's interesting. We rarely talk about how broad it is. We could discuss this for ages, but I totally agree. The summer FF Derom came too quickly, almost unnoticed in midsummer. The timing was awful. We'd been cleaning for 3 months, hitting the worst phase in July, August. It's not the only reason, but it's one. I think if he'd launched in January 2025, it would have been much better for the ETF. As always in such situations, it's a bit disadvantageous for Ether Home. The ambitious ones are feasting on land right now. It's great news. You know, South Korea is a unique market, somewhat isolated like Japan. You can have Bitcoin priced higher there than elsewhere. Some people, like FTX in Japan, initially played on these price differences between Japan, France, or the US. It's super interesting that South Koreans are willing to pay a premium now. They're the ones flocking to these marketplaces. They're launching, they're red hot. They're starting to pay premiums, meaning they're paying higher prices than we are for Bitcoin and certain other cryptocurrencies. You know, it's Kabaye who's on Beat Sweet. USDT on ton is exploding, spreading across all blockchains, consistently hitting billions, a billion on ton. This is great news for USDT compared to competitors. They're dominating the market, which is excellent news for Ton's TVL and the project's momentum. I think it'll be one of the top performers. As for WorldCoin, it's controversial, but I'm following and investing a bit in it. It's a project with ethical questions. It's complex. They were criticized initially for fewer ethical constraints in India, Pakistan, and other places they frequented. Now, interestingly, I think they're advancing, which is why it took time. They'll start deploying World ID in Poland, which is in the EU. It's getting closer, and that's obviously good news. PayPal's really interesting because they struggled initially with their stablecoin. I believe it had a 30 million market cap. That's normal for new projects. So it was ridiculous, and now I think it's becoming a real cash machine. We'll check it out right after. What's interesting is that Tether isn't public, so they're not obligated to disclose all details, but with PayPal, we'll get to understand the stablecoin business model. By the way, if you look, it had dropped before, but since this strategy, it's taken off. Related? Maybe what? Up 50% in a year. I think it's partly linked. We'll see PayPal's results and their stablecoin's impact. Let's check out the map, which is pretty impressive. Let's get to the important part. The key part, I think it's in 80th position, boom, PayPal USD. Not bad, 700 million at 5%, that's significant. There's a nice little PQ and we'll follow it. I'm pretty sure it'll end up in the top 20 because there's not much competition. Many others have disappeared, and it's a constantly growing business. We talked about FTM on, I think the main criticism is the migration to Sonic, slightly hurting Solana. FTM could do great things, it's in the top 50. Swiss is crazy, since its listing it keeps going up. CKB still has massive volumes here. When I see this, I think despite the rise it's not stopping. People keep buying like mad, even after 130% in a month, 100% in just 1 week. It's really promising. Let's look at the charts. We're seeing great volumes nearing 40 billion on Ethereum. Above 60k, we're holding steady. Let's take a look. We're really breaking through. Talking about a 3-act play, we finally passed all these tests successfully. Looking at Bitcoin, I was clearly expecting a drop. Last time I wanted it to fall less than that. For now, we're very far from it. It's starting to gain momentum. Next, it needs to make a clear higher high. Let's say it needs to hit at least 61k. After that, it's simple. Both the 200-day moving average and the previous true daily high around 64. Something's happening there, because after that, we'll hit the teeth, so we'll need to be patient. Maybe GDP next week or in the coming days. We don't know. Then, as I showed you, these KBIs at the 0.2 zone are holding well. Then I added the second line. We'll discuss it later. For me, the real zone, 0.2 will be crucial, then 0.26. If we break that, it's the start of something big. Look, you have a huge diagonal resistance, that's the red line there. We'll work on that first, then see. If we break it, we're in uncharted CKB territory. For XRP, I strongly believe that among the top 20 tokens, it's one of the... I think it could explode at any moment. I'm bullish on KDA, which is really exciting. Look, no volume at all. We haven't seen volumes this low since March. We're at March levels. I hope we'll continue this kind of pattern. It broke everything. 50-day moving average. First target, 0.80, 200-day average. Now let's talk about the success story of the last 3 days. At 0.5, honestly, I think it could reach $1. It's already gained 30% from 0.5. As we discussed, I believe it can continue, resist here, and then simply here. I've shown you two because it's good to... I mentioned this before it exploded. It's battling here, now exploding. I like to find similar patterns that might explode to share beforehand. For me, it's ink. Not exactly the same, but I like this pattern type, a kind of consolidation, slightly oblique. I think it'll do this and we'll follow along. Lastly, this one we haven't discussed in ages. It's a major case for me. I think logistics is an underrated business with huge potential for profit. I don't get it. Maybe I'm out of sync with other investors, but wow, check this out. When this breaks out, using triangle theory, if you take this base and put it here, it could be massive. It needs to break out. Look at this resistance. Once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, a 7th. But see, it might explode on the 3rd attempt. Next, RSR continues its impressive run. It didn't quite confirm. I watched it today. Looked great. Thought it'd take off tomorrow. Look how close it is. Right down to the wick. Closed just below the 200-day moving average. Can't jump in yet. Might fall back if we do. But I'm very optimistic about RSR. Well, if you've got $100 and you're not sure where to put it today, for me, it's the most obvious investment right now. Remember, for those warriors who were here in 2022, it was a long wait. 2 years of sideways trading, we called it USDT. You recognize the pattern. Tap, 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 then boom. It was a major resistance level. Is it now support? We break out, pull back, and now we're here. I think it's taking off again. I can't guarantee anything, but to me this looks like a textbook case. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this morning's update. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great day, everyone. Ciao, folks.